I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I shall give to this Honorable Legislative Assembly shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Good morning, Mr. Francis. As you're aware, we're dealing with the 2016 Auditor General's report on the accounts of the Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands, and the committee has some questions for you. And the rules require that when you answer the first question, you preface that with your full title and name so that it appears in the recorded of the Assembly. So, Mr. Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, sir. Just looking at page 7 of the Auditor General's report, in particular note 18, concerning the heading, significant difficulties encountered during the course of our audit. It says, no serious difficulties were encountered in the performance of our audit. However, the following instances were remarkable to us in this financial audit, as we did encounter them in the few past audits. A, while draft financial statements were submitted by the deadline, the authority provided complete and official draft of financial statements after the legal deadline. And B, Macy required relatively more time this year to prepare and complete supporting schedules and supporting documents. And C, revisions required on certain audit schedules that have already been in place in prior audits. Just out of curiosity, and I mean, as an accountant myself, I know sometimes we do have these challenges. So just for the ease of the members here, we're just trying to, especially since it was highlighted that it happened in the past, we're just trying to get an idea if it's a resource issue or something else that is needed to make sure that the legal deadlines are met with regards to the submission of financial statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. My name is Osbert Francis. I'm the Global Director of Operations for the Maritime Authority of the Cayman Islands. To address your question,
So you're not the Chief Financial Officer? You're the Global Director?
Yes, sir, but the financials fall under my remit in that position.
So we no longer have a Chief Financial Officer at the Maritime Authority. We now have a Global Director under which.
That's correct, sir. There's
okay,
no official title.
So you have a. So who you prepare the statements yourself, or?
Myself and staff. Well, it was actually done. It was actually done by our accounts person at that time, who has since left the authority.
So, when did this change occur? Since the 2016 accounts, or?
Since the 2016 accounts. She left in October of last year.
So, can you give us the finance department new org structure?
I'm global director, and then directly beneath me is I have a head of finance and reporting, and a head of accounting.
You had a head of finance
and reporting
and reporting.
Yes, sir.
And a head of accounting.
Correct.
What is the job, the JD differences in that role?
So the head of financial and reporting is she deals strictly with financial reports, all the work that goes into getting those financial reports done, and then the head of accounting is mainly on the accounts payable side.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in fairness, I will, based on what the agenda had, I think it pretty much would be unfair for me to ask a core accounting question like that if you're not the person responsible in that regard. So, I mean, I will leave you to answer it if you want, but I would technically withdraw that question because I don't want to put you on the spot like that, because that question was saved specifically for the person that prepared the financial statement. So if you're not that person, then it'll be kind of unfair to put you in that position. But if you want to make a stab at it, so be it.
Yeah, I don't mind making a stab at it, sir.
Yeah.
Basically how it works is the person at the time her name was Miss Yates. She completes the financial statements, and then I review them. With respect to the schedules that were provided for audit that year, historically we've done interim audits with the OAG, where we allow them to come in at a 9-month. Historically, we do a 9-month interim audit with the OAG office, where we allow them to come in early in an effort to make the final audit a bit more expedient, and to assist them with their workload at that time. So I wasn't aware that our schedules were sent in ridiculously late.
But I not to interrupt you, Chris, but I need to get a sense of what has transitioned in the finance sector. So you were hired as global director.
I was hired as head of information and technology 5 years ago.
And you moved from head of information director to global director responsible for finance? Do you have a professional financing qualification?
I have my first degree is in accounting, sir.
No, that wasn't the question I asked you. The question I asked you was, do you have a professional qualification?
I do not.
Okay. You have professional qualifications in IT?
I've had professional. It's a difficult question to answer, sir, because there's several different qualifications you can get in from an IT perspective.
Do you have what IT qualification? You have a second degree in IT or a postgraduate degree?
My postgraduate degree is in IT, Management Information Systems.
I understand in some organization where you have operations, you'll have like finance, IT, and HR included in operations. I think the gist of our questions that we had, because it was more geared towards the CFO of the organization from that. And I think how the structure is set up, I mean, having almost like a COO that would be in charge of the different subsections. The questions, at least that I had prepared, were more technical in nature. And I really don't want to put a non-accountant, in terms of in that position. So, Mr. Chairman, I
think I certainly have some additional questions for the chairman, who's scheduled for a little. Just out of curiosity, are there other global directors in the organization?
Yes, sir. The global director title only came January 1 of this year. Prior to that, I was a director of operations. But the structure remained the same under me as director.
So is just a title change, or does that carry with it additional remuneration benefits in January this year?
It came with additional responsibilities, sir, and remunerations.
The title of global director?
Correct.
Was that done in accordance with the Public Authorities Law?
To my knowledge, yes, sir. But that's more a question for the chief.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking you because the person that really have to ask me is the guy coming next. Okay. Well, I really don't know if we have any questions for you if you're not the person who did the statements. So I guess we'll have to decide whether we want to summon the person. Well, you said the person who actually prepared the accounting, this statement is audited, no longer works.
That's correct.
But there's an individual under you who does the actual accounting.
Yes, sir.
You have two heads under you.
Yes, sir.
One is head of finance and one is head of accounting.
That's correct.
Head of finance, you said
finance and reporting.
And reporting. Can you define reporting a little more specific?
It's regarding the preparation of the financial statements for the authority.
So how do you reconcile having a head of accounting who does the actual accounting, but then you have somebody else preparing the statements and the report as opposed to the person that actually done it?
The head was the one that does the financial reports. The head is the person that does the financial reports.
So you don't have two heads. You have one person who's called head of finance and reporting, and you have an accountant who's not a head of a department with other people
I
working.
have another person that's head of accounting.
So I think just to put things in context, the line of questions that we were looking at were, I guess, a little bit more technical in nature, but I think it's also important for the public to recognize that even though the finance person isn't here, when you look at the overall financial statements and the reason for the qualifications, it is not really a technical issue from an accounting standpoint. So for us, it would have been more just in terms of information gathering than anything else. So I don't want it appears as if though with the finance person not being here that there is something wrong with the financial statements. There isn't. I mean, it's really just a qualification issue based on the post-retirement issue, which is something that exists in all authorities. So that's really the basis for the qualification outside of that. So there is nothing, I would say, that is wrong with the financial statements, barring that one accounting issue on the post-retirement, which is something that exists across the entire government. So I don't want the public to get the wrong impression in that regard, just to be clear. But some of the questions that we had would have been more on the operational side in terms of drilling down into the information. And like I said, to be fair to you, we don't want to put you in that position where we're digging into something that you're more on the supervisor management side of it. So those are questions that we can probably just send and just send a separate email to the CEO and just get those questions answered. Okay. But I really don't want to keep here and waste your time.
But I have a very fundamental question, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you say you were not aware that the financial accounts of the financial statements and the documentation was late, which is in violation of the law. That's a very serious offense. And you were not aware that they were submitted late?
Well, it's always been a cooperative relationship with OAG.
Yeah, but that's not the question I'm asking. Can you confirm? Because I can go back to the recording and find what I want, but I just want you to confirm that the statement you made a while ago was that you were not aware that the financials were submitted and the relevant documentation were submitted outside of the requirements of the law.
I believe how it reads, sir, is that they received a version and then they received another completed version. So I don't think it's that the financials weren't received. I think they received another set of financials.
But you were aware that they were that.
Well, the original set I don't believe were late.
Okay, were you aware that some things had to be submitted after the fact?
The schedules, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. No, I just need to clear that up because that was a. Any other questions for Mr. Francis? Oh, sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well. We'll take our lunch break and we'll come back at 1 o'clock to deal with the next witness.